Hey you. Yes, you. Your Tinder profile sucks. Yeah, I said it. And furthermore, so does your Hinge, your Bumble, your OKCupid, and your Grindr profile. But don't worry, I wouldn't drop a bomb like that without giving you some tips on how to fix it. So keep listening for ways to make your profile right swipe worthy on today's episode of the Ask Auntie Podcast. But before we start, I want you to head over to the Ask Auntie blog Instagram page and DM me with your craziest dating app experience. I'll read the best submission on next week's episode. Also, there's still time to submit your questions for the Ask Auntie Advice Segment, where I read and give advice on anything from cheating spouses, annoying coworkers, dealing with imposter syndrome, and everything in between. Just submit them via Instagram DM or directly on our blog page. The links are in the show description. All right, now let's get started. If you've ever had the pleasure of using a dating app, then I'm willing to bet you've heard at least one of these cliches. You must be at least 6 feet tall. Work hard, play hard. Looking for my partner in crime. I'm fluent in sarcasm. If you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. Not to mention wading through all of the dirty mirror selfies and pictures of men holding a fish. What even is that? Nowadays, dating apps are a necessary evil, but in today's episode, we'll go over 3 aspects of your profile, which are your pictures, your bio, and your messages, that we can tighten up to save you from swipe-induced carpal tunnel. Phase 1, your pictures. Let's face it, as deep as we all like to think we are, we can't deny that attraction matters. I'm not saying that you have to be a supermodel to snag a partner or anything, but everyone appreciates a little effort. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, let's make sure that yours can't be dumbed down to a sticky note. Tip number 1, be careful with your group pictures. Okay, group pictures can be a great way to show that you're social and likable. But if the first picture or first several pictures in your profile are unlabeled group pictures, then you're setting yourself up to be a participant in a competition that you didn't even know you signed up for. And you may not be the winner. Whenever someone sees an unlabeled group picture, they instinctively zone in on who they find most attractive and hope for that person to be you. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen a group picture and fallen for the cute guy on the far right, only to discover that the profile actually belongs to a Muppet. Okay, that's not very nice. But if you make the mistake of not clearly labeling which person you are in the photo, you may be setting your potential match up for disappointment. Not to mention that if you have too many unlabeled group pictures, they may just get tired of playing the guessing game altogether and swipe left out of sheer frustration. So lead with your solo pictures and label your group pictures to avoid any confusion. Tip number 2, avoid the mask pictures. Seriously, just don't. I mean, unless you have some super cool or unique mask that gives insight into your interests and personality, my Cowboy Bebop mask, then you're defeating the purpose of having a picture in the first place. Show off that lovely face of yours. You're not a bank robber. Lose the mask. Tip number 3, variety is the spice of life. All right, I'm glad you ditched the mask. But if your profile is nothing but close-up after close-up of your face, then it doesn't really help to paint a very well-rounded picture of who you are. Be sure to include full body pictures, pictures of you engaging in your hobbies, and action shots if you can. Stuff like that shot of you dancing or skating or working out. You want to show your potential matches that you're more than just a pretty face. So be sure to add variety to your pictures to give your matches a better idea of who you really are. Tip number 4, don't be sketchy. Okay, this should go without saying, but it seems like I need to shout it out loud for the people in the back. You should actually be in your photos. Faceless pictures and pictures that solely focus on your body or your naughty bits just scream red flag. Potential matches will either think you're hiding something, or hiding from someone, or that you're only looking for a quick hookup. Either way, these types of pictures don't paint you in the best light. In short, if you have nothing to hide, then don't. Moving on to phase 2, your bio. Good job. Now that you've gotten their attention, you want to intrigue your potential matches into diving deeper. Writing an appealing bio is a surefire way to earn that right swipe. Tip number 1, actually write a bio. This is another one that should go without saying, yet it still disappoints me to see how many people make this mistake. Nieces and nephews, that big blank space under your pictures is for your bio. Use it. Tell me, what do you think is the number one reason for left swipes? Don't worry, I'll wait. If you guess duck lips, that's not a bad guess. But the actual answer is an empty bio. Having a bare bio implies that you couldn't be bothered to put forth the effort into filling it out. This could leave your potential matches to wonder if filling out a simple bio isn't the only thing that you'll neglect. Take a few minutes to write something, anything. Tip number 2, let your personality shine through. From the time you were born up until this very moment, you have spent your entire life navigating the world through trial and error. You've explored the space around you, as well as the depths of your own inner workings. You've compiled a collection of experiences, life lessons, successes, failures, heartbreaks, and triumphs. And after all of that growth and evolution, you have decided to sum up the depths of your soul into a cliche phrase like tacos are life. Not only are you one of 1.5 gazillion people regurgitating the same buzzwords, it doesn't actually say anything about how unique you are as a person. You are a complex, creative, and captivating creature whose existence can't be simply boiled down to margs and brunch. Don't be basic. Mention interests and traits that go beyond the superficial. What truly makes you, you? What would a potential match have to look forward to if you got together? For example, on my old dating app, I said that I'm an athletic nerd who's as interested in hiking and paintball as I am in anime and comic books. I want to scream, sing 2000s punk rock songs while on our way to grab dinner at a ramen shop before we go to a secondhand bookstore or to see a comedy show. Try digging deeper than the surface level and write about the things that make you stand out in a crowd. Tip number 3, avoid the negativity. A bio full of things like, don't do this and don't waste my time is pretty off-putting. I know that you think you're weeding out the undesirables, but what you're really doing is presenting yourself as a bitter and uncompromising asshole. Bios like that spend so much time telling potential matches what hoops they need to jump through for the privilege of dating them, that they don't ever mention why dating them is a privilege in the first place. And I am not swiping on someone who has a laundry list of expectations for me when I can clearly see that their mattress is laying on the ground in their third picture. I know it takes a little more time and effort to rule out people you're not interested in through the traditional route, but it's better to take your time and avoid sending everyone running in the process. People gravitate towards positivity. So remember, bios aren't meant to rule people out. They're meant to pull people in. Be nice. Tip number 4, ditch the fluff. Okay, I know in tip number 1 I said to write anything, but maybe I should have been a little more specific. You should write something substantial. Listing your name, your age, and the city you live in can feel like redundant filler information since all of those points are already listed in your profile. I'm not the census. Dropping a string of emojis isn't a bio, it's a condensed picture book, and simply listing out all of your social media tags isn't informative, it's self-promoting. You want to give your potential matches something to work with to start a conversation with you. Otherwise, you're putting yourself in danger of receiving the dreaded and uninspired, hey message. Ugh. Be sure to add interesting and open-ended talking points to help get the conversation flowing. On to our third and final phase, your messages. Oh my God, you got a match. Congratulations. But it really isn't all that surprising, considering you followed all of the brilliant steps I gave you to create an awesome profile. Soon, you and that Tinder hottie will be going out for coffee, taking your dogs on long hikes in the mountains, and curling up on the couch to watch season 79 of the British baking show together. That is, as long as you don't fuck it up. Tip number 1. Seriously, don't be sketchy. This may sound familiar, but trust me, it definitely bears repeating. Don't be sketchy. There's nothing worse than matching with someone that you find attractive, intriguing, and has similar interests, only for them to fire off some creepy-ass message right out of the gate. It's probably best to keep your sexually explicit, vulgar, and lewd messages to yourself, at least in the beginning. Just read the room and form the conversation around similar interests or cool talking points that you picked up from their bio. Save the weird comments for after you've built up a rapport and have a better idea of what their tolerance and sense of humor is. Coming in too hot may get you unmatched, so be respectful and keep the inappropriate comments to yourself. Tip number 2, don't overdo it with the compliments. Sincere compliments can go a long way in showing your interest, but emphatic gushing can be a turnoff. Yes, you may think she seems like an idyllic angel spun from the most luxurious gold and silver. And sure, you may think he looks like a statuesque Greek god chiseled from marble. But you may want to tone it down just a bit. Everyone likes to feel appealing, but if you write paragraph after paragraph of undying admiration for a person you barely just met, it can come off a little disingenuous or just downright creepy. And you don't want your match thinking that you're the kind of person that would sniff their shoes when they leave the room. True story. In short, while compliments are encouraged, don't overdo it and slip into creepy territory. Tip number 3, avoid getting too personal too soon. Open and honest communication is super important when starting and maintaining a healthy relationship. But while it's best not to hide important information, you should also avoid sharing too much too soon. There is no need for you to bring up your IBS or the safe word you and your ex used to use during your first few messages with a new match. There's a good chance that you'll either scare them away or make them think that you're not fully healed or over your previous experiences. Keep the first few messages light, fun, and flirty, and let the conversation naturally dive into the more taboo topics when it's appropriate. I'm just saying, even an open book should still save the more intense chapters for later. Tip number 4, timeliness is important. Consider this a 2-pronged tip, a tip within a tip. Tipception, if you will. No matter which side of this tip you fall on, the underlying idea is that timing is important. This suggestion, because I've said tip too many times already, is for those online daters who are either way too impatient or way too laid back when it comes to responding to messages. You don't want to be the person who fires off 9 messages within the span of 3 minutes before your match has even had time to respond to your first message. This can make you look needy, clingy, and unforgiving. There are plenty of valid reasons why someone may take longer to respond than you would like, and you should always practice patience and give that person the benefit of the doubt before you go and freak out on them. Meanwhile, you don't want to be the person who forgot to text back until 3 days have passed and then be surprised that they're not excited to hear from you. If I weren't the one given this tip, I would feel so called out right now. Anyway, going MIA can make you seem neglectful, uncaring, and flippant. If you've made the effort to match and agree to a conversation, the least you can do is keep up your end and actually respond. So try to be respectful of each other's time and lives outside of the app when messaging. All right, we made it to the end, everyone. And now it's time for your homework. Stop it. All you have to do is go onto your dating apps. Yes, I said apps, because I know you have more than one of them, and comb through your profile with these tips in mind. It only takes a few minutes, but it could make a big difference. Who knows? After you make the changes, you could be frolicking in a field of daisies with a new love of your life in no time. Happy swiping, nieces and nephews.